Every morning at exactly 6 a.m., I stand before the fogged bathroom mirror in my cramped suburban apartment, brushing my teeth for precisely 3 minutes. The bristles scraping against enamel I've guarded like a fragile treasure since childhood fillings left me haunted by the drill's whine. The ritual sets the rhythm for my day. A quiet bus ride through the city's gray sprawl, hours hunched over insurance claims in a fluorescent-lit cubicle, where the hum of printers and distant chatter blend into a dull symphony. Evenings dissolve into the sizzle of a microwave meal, steam rising like forgotten dreams as I scroll online forums for tips to dodge rising health costs, each click resounding in the emptiness of my room. Lately, to skip pricey checkups, I've joined an experimental dental trial at a nondescript clinic on the town's edge. A simple serum injection meant to fortify teeth against time and neglect. The procedure was quick, just a prick and a fleeting tingle in my gums that the technician dismissed as normal. And now, as I rinse and spit, a subtle itch lingers at the edges, likely my body adjusting, fading as I button my shirt and step back into routine. 3 days after the injection, I awoke to a searing pain in my mouth that yanked me from fitful sleep. It felt like a hot needle jammed into my gums above my left canine. I stumbled to the bathroom, flipped on the light, and leaned over the sink, heart pounding. The mirror showed my face twisted in agony, but when I pried my lips apart, there it was. A sharp, fang-like tooth pushing through the gum line, swollen and red around it. It wasn't one of my own, an extra tooth emerging where none should be. I prodded it with my tongue, and a jolt of pain shot through my jaw, making me gasp. What the hell was this? The clinic had said the serum would strengthen my teeth, not sprout new ones. I grabbed my phone and dialed the number they'd given me, my fingers shaking. The line rang once, then went dead, disconnected. I tried again with the same result. Panic bubbled in my chest. The clinic's website loaded, but the contact page was blank, as if scrubbed clean. I searched for reviews, forums, anything, but found only generic ads for dental trials. No mentions of side effects like this. My mind raced, maybe an infection or allergic reaction. I called my regular dentist, but it was before office hours and the voicemail promised a callback. Fat chance I'd wait. The pain intensified, radiating into my sinuses. I rinsed with salt water, popped ibuprofen, and tried to convince myself it was nothing. But as I stared at the unnatural fang in the mirror, glinting under the harsh light, a cold dread settled in. This wasn't normal. By midday, the fang had fully emerged, jagged and longer than my other teeth, like something out of a nightmare. It wasn't alone. Tiny buds formed along my upper gum, swelling and pressing outward. I could feel them shifting under the flesh, a subtle grinding that made my skin crawl. I called in sick to work, mumbling about a migraine, and spent the afternoon pacing my apartment, alternating between the bathroom mirror and frantic Google searches. Extra teeth after dental injection yielded nothing useful. Just hyperdontia cases in kids or weird medical anomalies. No mention of experimental serums. The pain ebbed and flowed, but those buds grew faster than seemed possible. By evening, 2 more fangs had broken through, one on each side of my mouth, and the itching had spread to my lower jaw. That night, sleep was impossible. Every time I dozed off, a fresh stab of agony yanked me awake. I dreamt of teeth raining from the sky, embedding in my skin like thorns. When I woke, drenched in sweat, I felt something new, a pulsing in my neck, just below my jawline. I clawed at it, thinking it was a muscle spasm, but my fingers brushed a hard lump under the skin. No, it couldn't be. As the hours ticked by, the lump softened, then split open with a wet pop, and there, emerging from the side of my throat, was another tooth. Not in a mouth, just protruding from the flesh, sharp and ivory. Blood trickled down my collarbone as I staggered to the mirror again. It looked like a parasite burrowing out. I tried yanking it free with pliers from my toolbox, but the pain was blinding, and it wouldn't budge, roots digging deep into muscle. Over the next week, it worsened dramatically. The teeth didn't stay in my mouth. They migrated. I could feel them moving under my skin, like worms tunneling through soil, grinding against bone and nerve. First, my neck, more buds forming, pushing out to create grotesque slit-like openings that resembled tiny mouths. They weren't just teeth anymore. The surrounding flesh puckered into involuntary, twitching lips. And they chattered. God, the chattering. A constant, low clicking of enamel on enamel, resounding inside my body. One night, as I lay on the couch trying to numb the pain with whiskey, a mouth on my shoulder opened wide and let out a guttural hiss, like it was trying to speak. I screamed, slapping at it, but that only made it bite down harder, drawing my own blood. The migration spread downward into my shoulders, where clusters of teeth erupted in ragged lines, forming mouths that gnawed at the air. Then my arms, fangs piercing through my biceps, triceps, even my forearms, each one trailed by a burning path as they burrowed. I watched in horror one afternoon as a tooth pushed out from the crook of my elbow, the skin stretching taut before tearing open. The pain was a constant symphony of agony. My torso was next. Mouths blossoming across my chest and stomach, some small and murmuring, others larger, their chattering like bones rattling in a grave. They moved with purpose, as if alive and independent of me. I'd catch them opening and closing in the mirror, lips curling back to reveal rows of uneven fangs, and sometimes I'd swear they were feeding, sucking at the flesh around them, leaving bruises and raw patches. Paranoia set in hard. I couldn't leave the apartment. How could I? People would see the bulges under my clothes, hear the faint clicking if they got too close. I drew the curtains and unplugged the landline after a telemarketer called, and I nearly broke down sobbing. Work emailed about my absence, but I ignored them. Fired? Fine. Isolation was my only shield. I turned to the internet, diving into dark forums and subreddits. Experimental dental trials gone wrong, I typed, hands trembling. At first, nothing again. Then, buried in an anonymous thread on a conspiracy site, I found hints. Posts from years ago describing similar symptoms. Teeth growing where they shouldn't, migrating, chattering. One user claimed it was a black market experiment, a serum derived from animal DNA meant to regenerate, but twisted into mutations. They shut down the clinics, he wrote. People vanished. If you're reading this, run. The thread was locked, users banned. Another forum hinted at failed biotech weapons, government funding for self-replicating dental tech that backfired. I cross-referenced names. The clinic I'd visited popped up in old articles about unregulated trials. Then, silence. Cover up? It sounded insane, but as another mouth formed on my ribcage, its teeth grinding audibly, insanity felt like the least of my problems. I tried everything for relief, but painkillers barely touched the agony. It was too deep, too alive. One desperate evening, I locked myself in the bathroom with a bottle of vodka and a utility knife for self-surgery. The mouth on my left arm was the worst, chattering non-stop, sending vibrations up to my skull. I sterilized the blade with a lighter, took a swig, and cut into the flesh around it. Blood poured out, hot and slick. But as I dug deeper, the teeth clamped down, resisting. I pried one loose, a long fang with roots like veins. But the pain was apocalyptic, stars exploding in my vision. I passed out on the tile floor. When I came to hours later, the wound was already healing unnaturally fast. A new tooth budding in its place. They regrew, faster each time. I tried again on my neck, but the chattering turned to a shriek inside my head, and I dropped the knife, vomiting from the intensity. The hallucinations began around day 5. Or perhaps they weren't hallucinations at all. It was hard to tell. Shadows in the corner of my apartment murmured, matching the mouth's chatter. Faces grinned from the walls, bearing too many teeth. Sleep deprivation worsened it all. Nights blurred into days, pain kept me awake, and the mouths fed on my exhaustion. I lost weight, my skin turning sallow, veins bulging as if something drained me from within. Food tasted like ash. Every bite irritated my original teeth, now overcrowded with fangs. I subsisted on liquids, slurped through a straw to avoid chewing. By the week's end, I was a wreck, huddled in my dim living room, clothes hanging off me, swathed in makeshift bandages that failed to silence the inner chorus. Mouths riddled me now. Dozens, from collarbone to hip, each chattering and gnawing in its own rhythm. They surged in waves, sometimes synchronized like a hive mind. I felt them pooling, sapping my strength, hungry for more than flesh. Desperation peaked that final night. I couldn't take it anymore. The pain, the isolation, the endless noise. I resolved on one last confrontation, targeting the largest mouth, the one that had formed on my abdomen over my navel. It was palm-sized, with puckering pale lips and multiple rows of glinting fangs inside. It chattered louder than the others, a constant grind vibrating through my gut. I gathered my tools, utility knife, tweezers, a mirror propped on the kitchen table. I stripped off my shirt, staring at the abomination in the reflection. My body was a map of horrors, bulging lumps, open slits, bloodied scabs from scratching in futile rage. I doused the area with antiseptic, ignoring the fiery sting, and made the first incision. The mouth reacted instantly, opening wide and hissing, teeth snapping at the air. Blood welled up, but I pressed on, cutting deeper and peeling back the skin like unwrapping a grotesque gift. Layers of flesh parted, revealing not muscle or fat, but a network of calcified tendrils, white, root-like structures weaving through my tissues, pulsing faintly. They branched from the mouth, connecting to others across my torso like a bony web. I probed with tweezers, and a tendril twitched, unleashing a shockwave of pain that nearly blacked out my vision. Deeper still, I saw them intertwined with my veins, leaching blood and vitality. This wasn't regeneration. It was consumption. The serum hadn't fortified my teeth, it had weaponized them, turning my body into a host for this mutation. Hallucinations crashed in, voices from the mouths murmuring secrets, faces melting in the mirror, teeth everywhere, multiplying. I cut further, severing a tendril, and black ichor oozed out. Not blood, but something thicker, almost alive. The pain amplified into a cacophony inside me, mouths screaming in unison. My hands shook, the knife slipping. But I couldn't stop. More tendrils lay exposed, linking to my spine and organs, spreading and burrowing deeper toward my heart. Realization hit like a thunderclap. This was no accident. It was designed to feed, mutate, and consume, leaving nothing but a husk. Hallucination swirled once more, the clinic technician's face morphing into a grinning skull, shadows with fangs lunging from the walls. The chattering became words, incomprehensible at first, then clear. Feed, grow, consume. My vision blurred, pain overwhelming me as another mouth butted on my thigh, tendrils reaching out. I dropped the knife and collapsed to the floor, the network pulsing, drawing me under. The agony building to a crescendo that promised no end, only more teeth, more hunger, more. I don't know how long I lay there on the kitchen floor, black ichor pooling around me, the mouth screams fading to a dull throb as my body fought back, or perhaps as the mutation relented, sated for now. When I finally dragged myself up, dawn broke through the curtains, and the network of tendrils had retracted, wounds sealing with unnatural speed, leaving only puckered scars and faint lumps beneath my skin. The chattering quieted to a murmur, the extra mouths closing like dormant buds, hidden but alive, waiting. I survived, but I was changed, scarred inside and out, a host to something that could awaken with the slightest stress, grinding and gnawing anew. Weeks blurred into a fragile recovery. I called work, claiming a severe illness, and they let me switch to remote, sparing me the bus rides and cubicle stares. Mornings returned to that familiar 6 a.m. ritual in the fogged bathroom mirror, brushing for precisely 3 minutes. But now, the bristles scraped over crowded enamel, the subtle itch a constant reminder of that first injection, no longer fading, but pulsing like a warning. Evenings dissolved into microwave meals again, the sizzle mocking my isolation as I scrolled those same health forums, chasing answers instead of tips. One night, with fingers hovering over the keyboard, I typed out my story. A desperate warning about the clinic, the serum, and the horror it unleashed. As I hit post, a faint chattering stirred under my skin, syncing with the words on the screen. The itch deepened, and I wondered who else might wake tomorrow to a subtle tingle in their gums, the cycle beginning anew. Hey guys, it's Malice here. I really appreciate you sticking around until the end of the story. I'm a one-man operation and trying my best to grow, so if you like what you just heard, please leave me a like. Subscribe if you want to hear more, and please send me any reading requests you might have. I'm always struggling to find new content. Thanks again, and stay scared.